one thing that they could keep in mind is if they are going to float the Spokane River on the paddle boards, they want to be advanced paddle boarders. uh, Lots of fun. And then when they can put in, float down, and then call an Uber when they get out of the water, deflate their boards, jump in the Uber, and get shuttled back to their cars.
Thank you so much, Keith, for joining me today from Fun Unlimited in Idaho and Spokane, Washington. So where are you coming in from today? Where are we signing in from?
Today, I'm in the home office this morning here in Spokane, Washington, just north of Spokane. Yeah.
Awesome. You guys offer so many different things in so many locations. It's incredible in such a beautiful part of the country. For those that aren't familiar where Coeur d'Alene is or where your locations and adventures are specific to the paddle, what are the different places that you guys offer stand-up paddleboarding or kayaking in those areas?
Mm-hmm. So we have one location in Post Falls. There's a little private beach at Templin's Hotel and Marina, and that's on the Spokane River, which is just behind a dam. So it's really part of Lake Coeur d'Alene. You can get to Lake Coeur d'Alene from that location. And then we have a location in downtown Spokane, which is probably, if I'm paddling with my family and I want a unique experience, I really like downtown Spokane. The water it's just a very cool experience. You can paddle up to No Lie Brewery. There's a new great restaurant right on the river called Osprey. So yeah, in downtown Spokane. And then we're looking at third and fourth locations. The third would be in Willow Bay Resort, which is just south of Riley Creek Campground, which Riley Creek Campground is a really nice place on the Pend Oreille River. And then Bayview, Idaho would be our fourth kind of next place that we're eyeing that we would want to use to launch sailboats and such. So
that's amazing. For those who aren't familiar with Spokane in general or the Washington area, it's tell us a bit more about the time of year, the seasons to avoid rain. What are the best times to visit? When are you guys operating?
Sure. I would say that Spokane, there's no better place to be in the world than Spokane and Coeur d'Alene for June, July, August, and the first 2 weeks of September. Frankly, I'm a water person and I like sunshine. So the other 8 months of the year are kind of a write-off. I'm not a big fan of, gloomy weather. And we do have some fairly gloomy winters. But yeah, June, July, August, and then that first 2 weeks of September. That first 2 weeks of September is really a wonderful time. It's wonderful everywhere, but it's a very nice time because all of the tourists have kind of left the area and everyone's partied out basically with all their fun. And so that's when you can get some really nice experiences all to yourself. So.
Yeah, I think even though you get a short season, you guys really make a lot out of it. And when it's nice and sunny there, it's nice every day. It's not what you would expect in the winter. It's not rainy all year long, and that's what we love about the Pac Northwest as well. So does Spokane have direct flights from a lot of different places, or typical? What's the best place to fly into to explore that region of the country?
Yeah, definitely Spokane Airport was at GA. Yeah, Spokane International Airport. It has connections to Denver. I'm not an expert on the airport, but what I do know of the airport is it's pretty low key and it's easy to get in and out of. So.
Awesome. And I remember we did a ski trip to Schweitzer, which is probably not incredibly far from there. And we flew into Seattle and then Spokane and then drove up to Schweitzer. Mm-hmm. Your paddleboard rentals and kayak rentals, are they all putting it on a river? The experience in, like, do you offer the full takeout and put in, or is it just paddle upstream and downstream, or is there a shuttle involved? What are some of the things involved in getting out
Mhm.
on the adventure?
Yeah, we are mostly just an out and back with our two locations. The downtown Spokane is kind of just a lazy river ride. You're actually paddling upstream on the way out, and then you turn around, and it's kind of a lazy river ride back, which is nice. Um, and then Post Falls is once again just right from the beach. We don't do any shuttle services. One option for people that they should know about is that the Parks and Rec here in Spokane is now going to offer a shuttle service on the Little Spokane River. You can no longer paddleboard the Little Spokane River. They made some changes that just came down this year. My understanding is that they didn't want the people on paddleboards were there are spawning beds in that river for the fish, and so they're trying to protect the river. Pretty controversial decision, but you can still kayak it, and my understanding is that they will offer shuttle service. Highly recommend the Little Spokane float trip with Parks and Rec. It's the Little Spokane is glorious, just a tiny little crystal clear creek.
That's amazing. And then, what are some of the things that you love about paddling out there? What do you get to see and experience that you get to love?
Well, specifically talking about the Little Spokane, I when you could paddleboard it, I used to I really enjoy it when you have polarized sunglasses and then you're standing up, so you get a very good angle on the water to be able to see what's going on around you, and so half of the fun for me was just kind of floating down the river and watching the fish and seeing what's going on this. It's like looking into an aquarium. Um, and we've seen deer, moose, and a beaver one time. It's amazing how big beavers are until you get really close to them. And you're like, oh my gosh, I think that's a grizzly beaver. So, yeah.
No, thanks for
Uh,
sharing that. That is such unique wildlife that is
yeah.
so, only available in certain parts of the country for to be able to experience it.
Mhm.
And that point of view about the point of angle about the stand-up board is so unique. You're absolutely right. So whenever you get a chance, you're not only get to see down in the water, but when you're standing up, you can see wildlife around on the banks that you can't see from a kayak a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah. And along those lines, Spokane is very unique. Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, this whole area, when I say Spokane, I mean kind of the whole area, Coeur d'Alene, Sandpoint, because there's so much water and there's such a diversity of water here, all the way from high mountain lakes that you can hike into with the paddleboard to the Spokane River is actually fed by an aquifer. And so when you're floating down the Spokane River, you can tell when the aquifer comes in because the water will get dramatically colder in the summertime, for instance. So our two locations on the water locations, one are on the same river, and the water in Post Falls is I think it gets into the high 70s in the summertime, but by the time that water gets to downtown Spokane, it's in the 50s. Same river, but the aquifer.
Wow, that's so unique.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't. It took me a while to actually kind of put that together. Yeah, but the beauty of downtown Spokane is the water is once the runoff is all through, the water is crystal clear and the visibility is amazing. So bring polarized glasses for sure.
Okay, you got it.
So,
And is aquifer fed, so the flow stays the same pretty much all year round?
um, I don't know. So the flow of the river does change as the
Okay,
runoff from the mountains,
snow
which
melts.
is kind of just, yeah. So we're end of June here. So the runoff is just kind of subsiding now, and the river level is coming down. Avista is our power company, local power company, and they regulate the river flow with there's two or three dams along the river as well. Um,
Okay.
we do have to. That's one of our challenges downtown Spokane is we have to wait for a vista to close the dam so that the flow of the river dies down to a safe level. So, yeah.
Got it. Makes sense. This area is so beautiful. You've got uh, Spokane and Coeur d'Alene and Sandpoint. There's so many incredible outdoor uh, things to do there. What are some of your favorite things to do when you're getting out outside of just the water in the general area? Maybe some road trip recommendations, things you, if someone's planning a trip, maybe a week
Mhm.
long trip. What are some other places in the general area that you recommend and
Sure.
that you like to do personally as a local?
Yeah. Well, sadly, I've been doing this for 10 years. And so as the business grows, my summers get more and more, compressed and just chaotic. Luckily, we have a really good team. Um, but some of the things I like to do, and we like to go RVing. There's so many great RV. There's Farragut State Park on the southern end of Lake Pend Oreille, and that used to be the largest military base in the world for a while, ramping up to World War
Oh,
II. So a
wow.
lot of military history there. There's a little tiny town called Bayview, Idaho, on the southern tip, and that's excellent. There's a ton of marinas there and floating homes, and it's a really good spot to go sailing from. So there's that. And then right there, you also have a theme park called Silverwood, which is amazing. It's really, I mean, for our area to have a theme park of this caliber is really nice. And there is RV camping there at at Silverwood. So you can kind of use Silverwood or Farragut as home base and then um, shoot out from there. As far as things I like to do, we like to paddleboard the Spokane River. We'll usually drop in at state line between Idaho and Washington off of Highway 90. There's a launch there, and float on the inflatable paddle boards down to like Barker Road, or it just depends on how far. You can go a long ways. You can go all the way over to Boulder Beach and Minnehaha, which would be pretty much a full day adventure. Just know that there is some class 2, class 3 whitewater through there, and the conditions change. And so you definitely want to, if people are doing it, a wetsuit, helmet, PFT, of course, absolutely. The Spokane River is known for being fairly dangerous. And I think it's known for being fairly dangerous because it's not class 5, right? So it kind of
Right.
lulls people
Yeah.
to complacency. And then, they're floating on tubes with no life jackets, and, you know, it's where they just set themselves up for catastrophic things. So, but it's a blast.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's, yeah, because it's not the class 5, it doesn't have the classification. People take it
Mhm.
lightly and get themselves into more trouble than they
Right.
needed to by being a
Yeah.
little bit more unprepared.
And just for one thing that they could keep in mind is if they are going to float the Spokane River on the paddle boards, they want to be advanced paddle boarders. uh, Lots of fun. And then when they can put in, float down, and then call an Uber on when they get out of the water, deflate their boards, jump in the Uber, and get shuttled back to their cars. So really
Oh,
simple
that's
way to do it.
huge.
Yeah.
That that's amazing. That's the biggest pain point in the whole process of renting paddleboards or
Yeah.
kayaks is shuttling or trying to figure out
Right.
how you're going to get back. Just
Hmm.
yesterday, we did a trip in, or 2 days ago, we did a trip in Steamboat where we paddled the Yampa, but it required like an hour and a half of just driving back and forth. And
Right.
in hindsight, we should have just gotten a shuttle or thought about an Uber. We just didn't
Yeah.
even consider that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the coolest things I've done around here is I floated the Little Spokane by myself in December. Uh, and it was just me and some ducks, and it was brutally cold. But I just had it in my mind I was going to do this float, and it was a great experience. My hands started getting cold, so I pulled out about halfway at the halfway point. called the Uber. By the time I had my board rolled up, and everything kind of ready to go, the Uber pulls up, and I think he had like a Cadillac Escalade or something with heated seats. I think it costs all of like $15. I mean, that's like the price you pay to go to the movies, and that's including the tip.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's if,
No,
if
that's
you're in,
incredible.
yeah, if you're in an area where Uber or Lyft are available, keep that in mind for your listeners.
Yeah, I think the inflatable paddleboard has changed the game for that reason too. Is being able to transport them in any vehicle without needing a roof rack, without needing all the equipment of the right car. So, and you get such a similar experience. You're not losing out on performance or anything else. If anything, it's a bit more forgiving.
Yeah, we actually started developing our own brand of paddleboards about 10 years ago. And so we've kind of seen the progression from solid core fiberglass boards. It's funny as a rental company, right? Because you try all these different things, and my thing is I'll try it. If I have an idea, I try it in a very small way, and I'd say 8 or 9 times out of 10, I learn something, and it usually is a painful experience. But there's that 1 or 2 times where like, this is working. This makes sense to do, from a business perspective. And yeah. So anyway,
Did you launch those?
The brand?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So my wife's a graphic designer, and so the brand board are Stillwater paddleboards, and we have 2 models, the Spokane and the Columbia, named after those rivers, bodies of water. So and the inflatable paddleboards, it's fun to watch the progression, right, of them improving and getting lighter and stronger every year, and we love them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what goes into, I'm really curious now, what are the different types of paddleboards in general, like out of all of them? And then when it comes to inflatable paddleboards, is there a big variety within them, and what makes them different? How do you decide what you want?
It's an excellent question. So to keep it fairly simple, I would say the wider the board, the more stability you're going to have, but the slower you're going to be. The narrower the board, the less, the more tippy it's going to be back and forth, but it's going to slide through the water much faster. Think of a, big, the same thing holds true in a kayak. So
Sure.
It's really personal preference for design, and most board companies are fairly kind of middle of the road, like 30 to 32 inches wide, 11 to 12 foot boards. Yeah, and that's what we've found as well. It's just an inflatable paddleboard's a lot like a mountain bike in that.
Got it.
It's great at everything, but it can do anything, if that makes
Got
sense.
it.
Right?
No,
Yeah.
that totally makes sense. So if you want to do lakes, maybe you want a slightly skinnier board with flat water if you have good balance, or if you're a beginner, you want to go a little bit wider to start, and then, or if you're doing maybe something with running water or rivers, possibly with some light rapids, you probably want a bigger, wider, stable board. It probably goes the same for, I guess, stand-up paddleboard yoga, which is pretty common. You probably want a wider, more balanced board.
Yeah. And exactly. Yeah. So, in your neck of the woods where you're at down in Steamboat now, I think Hala, HALA, they're making some boards very specifically for whitewater. You're probably seeing some of those boards there, and then NRS as well. Where they're.
Yeah, that's where we picked up our duckies from. Actually, we're going to go try the stand-up paddleboarding a river next.
Yeah, my advice is just make sure you have a river fin. So a lake fin is maybe 9 or 10 inches, and a river fin is maybe 5 to 6. Because if you're going down the river and you catch that fin, your movement forward is going to the board stops, right? And you keep going off the
And
board.
you don't.
Right, and if you
So
catch if you catch the fin, you're only in 4 to 6 inches of water. So that's probably the most important, most dangerous part of paddleboarding on a river is if it's shallow, just go to your knees because you will get ejected. You can.
Good to know. Good to
Yeah,
know. Yeah. I don't want to Superman onto a rock.
right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. If
Yeah.
you're good, if you're Supermaning into 4 inches of water, that's a problem.
Right. Yeah. We'll make sure we keep our helmets on too. We'll keep you posted
Yes.
on how it goes.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Keith, for jumping on today. I really appreciate it. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to inspire people to come out and visit the area, um,
Hmm.
or anything that is a must need to know before you come?
Need to know before you come. You know, the lakes get fairly busy. So if you are going to paddle, I always recommend going early in the morning or kind of in the evening. Um, if you are going, everybody kind of wants to come out between that noon and 5, right? That heat of the day. Well, that's when all the boats are out. That's when, yeah. So mornings or
Okay.
evenings are really nice time to paddle. Yeah.
And it's a
And the
much
wind
better experience too.
Yeah, and the wind usually kicks up at about noon to 5 as well, depending on the day. So just
Got it. No, that's a great takeaway. And you guys offer everything, so someone could just show up. You offer the helmet, the PFD, the um, paddle, and everything you need to be able to have the experience. Basically, show up in clothes that are you're okay getting wet if you fall in.
correct. Yep.
Awesome.
And if it's you don't if it's a cooler day, you just wear a jacket. You don't even have to get wet, right? So um, and then I would say, downtown Spokane, it's a very the river, it's very safe. So we don't rent helmets. I want to be clear about that. We don't have helmets. We don't need them, at least on the sections of the
Sure,
river that we.
sure.
Uh, if you're on different sections of the Spokane, then yes, you should be. If it's yeah, if it's a little more wild, then definitely helmets. Um, and we do also offer, if you want to do what we call a tow and go rental. So if somebody wants to take a board from our location, we offer 3-day and week-long rentals on that stuff. But primarily most of
Oh
our
wow.
stuff is, yeah, primarily most of our stuff is just you show up, the board is in the water for you. Every rental includes a little mini lesson and some safety tips, and off we go. And we've taught thousands of people to paddleboard over the years, and as long as you don't have any major hip or knee problems, as long as you can walk without some significant pain, you most likely can paddleboard and be doing it within a minute or two with some good instruction. So there's not too many sports that you can say that about, right? Even riding a bike takes a
Yeah.
couple days to figure out. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love that you guys can offer that to for so many people that are looking to get into new experiences and new outdoor experiences, and be able to include that lesson in so they can have that comfort in getting into it.
Mhm. Yeah, we're very fortunate to
Well,
do what we
awesome.
love. So yeah, hey Reed, thank you so
Oh,
much for having me on today. I really appreciate you and people like you that are inspiring other people to have the best lives that they can have, and through through real world experiences. So yeah.
no, thank you for giving up your amazing summers so you can help other people get out there. So
Yeah,
I really
right.
appreciate that.
That's the trade-off, but yeah, I'll do it a couple more 10, 20
Absolutely.
years. We'll see. Yeah.
No, keep
So,
going, keep going. You can
yeah.
find Fun Unlimited at cdasports.com, or of course on tripoutside.com. They have an amazing website, lots of information. Reach out to Keith if you have any questions, or reach out to us at Trip Outside. And we really hope that you found this encouraging to visit that general part of the country, the Pac Northwest around Spokane, Coeur d'Alene. It's at the border of Idaho and Washington, and it's an absolutely beautiful place to visit in summer. beautiful green trees and water and outdoor recreation is uh, there's so many unlimited possibilities. So if you check it out, look it up on Google, and when you plan a trip, reach out to either one of us, and hopefully we can help plan it. All right, that's a wrap.